Morning teacher, my name is Qi Guoming. The subject of this talk is analyzing the relationship between organizational culture strategy and organizational performance. To begin with, a few important definitions need to be established. One is as Coulter and Haskett summarized in 1992, organizational culture strategy belongs to the overall HR strategies. And this strategy can be seen as one of the most important strategy of helping a company's strategy and performance. The other is about what is organizational culture. Just like what Peckham said in his book, organizational culture is the collective behavior of humans who are part of an organization, and the meaning is that people attach to their actions. Culture includes the organizational values and visions, norms, working languages, systems, symbols, beliefs, and habits. It is also the pattern of such collective behaviors and assumptions that are taught to new organizational members as a way of perceiving and even thinking and feeling. That is the reason why I choose the culture form to analyze. So, as you see, any corporation needs organizational culture as a spiritual idea to effectively avoid market risk and guide its daily operations as well as long-term development. In terms of this perspective, organizational culture should be now viewed by all managers as being a central component. As market competition intensifies, corporations face not only competition of visible strengths such as capital, technology, and equipment, but also competition about organizational culture. That is a short description of the culture strategy. I now like to turn to consider if a culture strategy is valuable. And as a reason, I'm sure that the significance of making a good organizational culture is to enhance organizational performance. This perspective can be interpreted in two aspects. One is the culture influence, and the other is how it works. On the one hand, the same as Mr. Zhang in 2002 said, organizational culture affects the way stakeholders interact with each other. Stakeholders here refers to employees, customers, and suppliers. Organizational culture changes the employees and suppliers at the beginning. It can be seen in products and service as direct beneficiaries, and customers also feel the organizational culture. And the scope of influence can also spread continually, so that potential customers get information about organizational culture as well. And on the other hand, as the conclusion worked by Elson in 2002, organizational culture has the function of guiding, inspiring, and restraining. And for guiding function, I think organizational culture can be a guide for the value and behavior of each member from the orientation. Organizational culture concentrates on shaping the thinking to guide the behavior of members. And for the motivation function, a good organizational culture can form a strong and lasting sense of mission. Positive corporate culture is the driving force for employees, and people can feel a sense of belonging and a sense of security from it. The last one is restraint. Excellent organizational culture has a function of restraint for each employee at a psychological level. Corporate culture has already formatted some written or conventional rules and regulations to restrain employees. And we should clear that although organizational culture has these three functions, it must be suitable with corporate strategy. If culture is different with the company's positions and missions, it will be bad for corporate performance. Having looked at the significance of organizational culture strategy, let's investigate the methods of establishing a suitable organizational culture. I think three methods can be used. First of all, fostering common language is necessary for organizational culture. It contains shared values, common interests, and common missions. In one organization, the descriptions between individuals thinking, giving rise to the questions as communication barriers. The distance between two employees is a barrier for creating an organizational culture. Secondly, it is also helpful for organizational culture by doing group study. It can be seen as communication in groups. Thirdly, perfect the rules and regulations and have a clear-cut assignment of responsibility. System of rewards and is foundation of culture identity. But as a critical thinking, what we need to know is that the organizational culture we mentioned before is only one mainstream perspective. In max and research, organizational culture is not only created by leaders. Sometimes it emerges from the collective social interaction of groups and communications. And that means sometimes the culture is from the bottom level to the top. It is the result of a collective accommodation between organizational requirements and individual members' of aspirations. So sometimes it doesn't work for a manager to send their will as a public will, because at this time the manager's thinking is different from the employees, and as a result, the differences in the knowledge of culture cause a debate and a low efficiency. And if the major culture is formed by individual members' aspirations, this culture is hard to control and may not good for organizational performance. I think what a manager can do now is to try to lead the culture positive. And some small details such as providing coffee in the morning and send cards in festival like this, and all of them can easily change employees' attitude and form a good working environment. The culture formed in this environment will be better. And as I add, informal organizations also play important roles here. So it's better to lead the informal organization to a positive position. On the one hand, the leader of information should be asked to deliver the culture situation for the organizational performance. By the way, the leader here is not the same as the manager of the enterprise. And on the other hand, the company managers should also add some emotional elements to the informal organizations and do some emotional motivations. In addition to this, an organization should consider many other factors when creating organizational culture. As Cameron said, the static culture management and organizational can define economic growth. Most organizations seek to change and adapt new culture and leadership style according to their industrial environment. So we should admit that culture is sometimes that an organization is. We can only form or change the culture by changing the organizations or concentrate on day-to-day organizational activities. Oxford argued that organizational culture will also be affected by the national culture. As a conclusion, I think a good organizational culture strategy can influence a company's performance. It is necessary if an organization is to survive and be competitive in today's fast-moving business environment. A manager should make good organizational culture with the objective of improving organizational performance. And as a critical thinking, culture can also form on the employee level, which may not suitable for company performance. So, a good manager should lead the culture to a positive direction. That's all my presentation. Thank you.